I waited until the bedroom door clicked shut behind me before I let the mask slip. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a cold, focused rage I hadn't felt in decades. I stood in the dark of my bedroom, the faint glow of the streetlights filtering through the lace curtains, and I could still hear their muffled voices downstairs. They were arguing now. Vanessa's voice was a sharp, urgent whisper, and Mark's was a low, defensive mumble. They were looking for the will. They were panicking. Good. I walked to the old oak armoire in the corner of the room, the one Eleanor had bought at an estate sale when we were first married. It was heavy, unwieldy, and the bottom drawer always stuck. I knelt down, my knees protesting with a familiar ache, and pulled the drawer open. It was filled with old sweaters, the ones I never wore but couldn't bear to throw away. I reached my hand deep into the back, past the moth-eaten wool, and my fingers brushed against the smooth leather of a worn briefcase. I pulled it out, set it on the bed, and unlocked the latches. Inside, nestled between faded photographs and old tax returns, was a manila envelope. I pulled out the documents, my eyes scanning the familiar, dense, legal language. The new will, the one that changed everything to the old will, the one they were frantically searching for downstairs, was a simple, straightforward document. Everything went to Mark. The house, the lake property, the investments, the savings. It was the will of a trusting father, a man who believed his son would do the right thing. But I'd had a rude awakening a few months ago. It sta root with the fall. I'd been coming down the stairs with a box of Christmas ornaments, and the runner had bunched up on the third step from the bottom. I'd gone flying, landing hard on my hip. It was a stupid accident, I told myself. But later, when I'd gone to clean the runner, I noticed the edge had been neatly folded under, creating a perfect trip hazard road. It could have been an accident, but I'd been an engineer for 40 years. I knew the difference between a random occurrence and a deliberate act. Then came the comments. The little digs about how I was getting on, how the house was too much for one person, how Eleanor would have wanted me to be comfortable. They were planting seeds, watering them with false concern. And I'd sta root paying attention. I noticed the way Vanessa's eyes roamed the room whenever she visited, cataloging the value of things. The way Mark would sigh dramatically when I talked about fixing the roof. They were treating me like a problem to be solved, so I'd done something I never thought I'd do. I went behind my son's back. I drove myself to the lawyer's office, a stoic, gray-haired man named Miller who had been handling my affairs for 30 years. I told him my concerns. He didn't dismiss me as a paranoid old man. He listened, and he drafted a new will. The terms were simple, devastating, and perfectly legal. Mark would still inherit the house and the lake property, but with one ironclad caveat. He would not receive a single penny until I passed away. And if he or Vanessa tried to force me out of my home, or into a CRE facility against my will, or attempted to sell any asset before my death, they would be disinherited entirely. Every dollar, every acre, every stick of furniture would instead go to the Birchwood Lake Preservation Society, a local charity dedicated to maintaining the natural beauty of the lake. It was a nuclear option. It was the kind of move a desperate father makes when he realizes his family is no longer a family, but a boa rudrum of interested parties. I knew Mark would never see it coming. He still saw me as the doting old man, a relic of the past, easily manipulated. He had no idea I had been paying attention to every whisper, every knowing glance, every line item on their master plan. Downstairs, I heard the unmistakable sound of a drawer slamming shut. Vanessa's voice, sharp and frantic, filtered up through the floorboard RDS. It's not in the den. Mark. He must have moved it. Did you check his office? I checked everything. Mark's voice was strained, a thin veneer of control fraying at the edges. He never used to keep it in the house. He always said it was in the safety deposit box. But I looked in the box last week, and it wasn't there. He must have gotten it. Well, where is it? Vanessa hissed. It's not in the dining room. I saw him put a stack of napkins in his pocket, but the wool isn't thick enough to hide under napkins. Did he put it in his jacket? I don't know. Why are you asking me? You're the one who said we needed to get the papers ready to send to the realtor. Because we can't do anything without that document, Mark. We need to know what we're dealing with. If he's changed it, if he's left everything to a cat shelter or something, we're screwed. We're up to our necks in debt, and we have a daughter whose wedding is going to cost more than our first house. I heard Mark's voice drop even lower, a pleading, conciliatory tone. Okay. Let's just be calm. He's old. He's forgetful. He probably just misplaced it. We'll find it in the morning. We'll ask him. Ask him? Vanessa's voice was incredulous. We can't ask him. That would be admitting we were looking for it. He'll know we were planning something. We just have to find it ourselves. Fine, Mark said, his voice laced with a resignation that bordered on desperation. I'll check the attic tomorrow when he goes for his walk. There's a trunk up there with his old office things. Maybe he stashed it in there. The attic. I almost laughed. They were going to see the attic, the one place they'd avoided for years because it was too dusty and creepy. They were going to tear through my past, looking for the key to my future. They were so focused on the prize, they had no idea I was already 3 moves ahead. I refully placed the new will back in the briefcase, but I left the old one on the nightstand. It was a decoy, a piece of bait. If they found the old will, they'd think they had won. They'd think I was still the docile old man they could push around. They'd get comfortable, arrogant even. And that's when I would spring the trap that I stripped off my jacket and hung it in the closet. As I did, my hand brushed against the pocket. The crinkle of paper made me smile. It was the stack of napkins from the side table. I hadn't put the will in there. I had used the will as a bookmark in a biography of Winston Churchill I was reading. It was sitting right on the bookshelf in the living room, a few feet away from where they had been whispering. They were so consumed by their greed, they hadn't even looked. I went to the window and looked out over the snow-dusted road. The lake property was a distant dream in my mind's eye, the quiet lapping of the water against the dock, the smell of pine and loons calling at dusk. They wanted to tear it down, to build a monument to their own ambition. They wanted to replace my memories with a guest room and a wine cellar, that I thought about Eleanor. She would have been devastated, not by the sale, but by the betrayal. She had always said Mark had a good heart, that he just got a little lost sometimes. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that. But the evidence was mounting against him. I heard footsteps in the hallway, soft and hesitant. Mark was coming up to bed. I quickly slid into bed, pulling the covers up to my chin and closing my eyes, feigning sleep. The door creaked open, and I felt his presence in the room. He stood there for a long moment, watching me. I could feel the weight of his gaze, the calculation in his mind. Was I really asleep? Was I truly the harmless old man they thought I was? He took a step closer. I could hear his breathing, shallow and anxious. He was looking for the will. I could feel it. He was searching the room with his eyes. I saw him glance at the nightstand, where the old will sat, innocently protruding from a stack of books. He didn't move. He just read at it. Then his hand reached out. My eyes were closed, but I could sense the movement. He was going to take it. He was going to steal it right from under my nose while I was sleeping. The audacity of it made my blood boil. But I stayed still. I let him do it. I wanted him to. I heard the faint rustle of paper as he slid the will out from the books. I heard his soft, relieved exhale. Then, the door clicked shut, and he was gone. I opened my eyes and read at the darkness. The game had just begun. He had taken the old will. He thought he had secured the prize. He had no idea I was about to call my lawyer first thing in the morning and activate the new one. I turned over, a smile playing on my lips. The house groaned around me, settling into the night. Tomorrow, there would be a reckoning. Tomorrow, I would ask them, very innocently, what their plans were for the new year. I would listen as they told me about the wonderful opportunity they had found for me, about the exciting changes they wanted to make. I would let them explain, in their own words, the full extent of their plan. And then, when they had committed themselves fully, when they had shown their hand, I would play mine. I would take out the real will and let them read it. I would let them see their future dissolve in their hands. I could already picture the look on Vanessa's face. The professional veneer would crack, revealing the naked greed underneath. I could picture Mark stammering, his frantic attempts to explain away his actions. I closed my eyes, the exhaustion of the day finally catching up with me. But my mind was Shah RP. My resolve Clea R. They had made a grave miscalculation. They had mistaken my silence for weakness, my stillness for senility, that my grip on the sheets tightened. I was not a problem to be solved. I was not a burden to be shed. I was a father, a husband, a man who had built a life. And they had just made the most dangerous mistake of their lives. They had woken the lion. And the lion was not asleep. He was just waiting for the perfect moment to ROA. The morning sun cut through the frost on the window like a blade, and I was already awake. I hadn't slept much. The old house creaked and groaned around me, but it was the sound of my own heartbeat that kept me restless. I lay in bed, STA ring at the ceiling, replaying the whispered conversation from the night before. The betrayal was fresh, the wound raw. But I had the weapon. I had the truth. I got up slowly, my joints protesting the cold. I shuffled into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. The face STA ring back was lined, weathered, but the eyes were clear sharp. I saw the old man they thought they could push around, but I also saw the fighter he used to be. The engineer who had built a CA rear on solving problems. The husband who had nursed Eleanor through her final ERS without complaint. The father who had worked double shifts to put Mark through college. The father who is now being treated like an obstacle that I dressed in my usual uniform, a flannel shirt, corduroy pants, and a worn CA cardigan. I made my way downstairs, the familiar smell of coffee already permeating the hallway. Mark was in the kitchen, standing by the counter, a mug in his hand. He looked up as I entered, his face a CA refill mask of casual ease. "Morning, Dad. Sleep well, like a log," I said, my voice flat. I went to the coffee pot and poured myself a cup. I could feel his eyes on me, searching for cracks, for any sign that I had heard something I shouldn't have. I gave him nothing. I was a blank slate. "Great," he said a little too brightly. "Listen, Vanessa had to run some errands this morning, but she wanted me to talk to you about something." "About what?" I asked, taking a sip of the bitter coffee. It was still too hot, but I used the burn to anchor myself. Did he read his throat? He was nervous. I could see it in the way his fingers drummed against the counter. "Well, it's about the future. We've been thinking, and we just want what's best for you." The words were like a pre-recorded message. I'd heard variations of them 100 times before. "I'm listening," I said, my tone neutral. He launched into the pitch. It was almost exactly what they'd RSC'd the night before. The resort-like, assisted living facility. The opportunity to sell the house while the market was hot. He mentioned the financial burden of maintaining the property, the peace of mind they'd have knowing I was safe and CA read for. He spoke with a practiced fluency, his words dripping with feigned concern. But I saw right through it. I'd built my life reading people, assessing their intentions. And right now, Mark's intentions were as clear as the frost on the windows. "Son," I interrupted, my voice cutting through his monologue like a knife. "I appreciate your concern, but I'm not ready to leave this house. It's my home. It's where your mother and I built our lives." His face fell. The practiced smile flickered, replaced by a flash of frustration. "But Dad, you're not getting any younger. The stairs dangerous. The upkeep is a lot. And there's no one here to help you. We're just trying to look out for you." "I'm not dead yet," I said, the words coming out sharper than I intended. "And I don't need a babysitter." He opened his mouth to argue, but I raised a hand. "I heard what you said last night." The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I had hit him with a precision strike, right in the center of his CA fully constructed facade. I heard all of it, I continued, my voice calm but icy. The plan to sell the house. The plan to sell the lake. The plan to put me in a facility so you could fund your daughter's wedding. He stammered, his eyes darting around the kitchen as if looking for an escape route. Dad, it's not what you think. We were just talking. You know how Vanessa gets. She exaggerates. We didn't mean. Don't lie to me, Mark. I said, cutting him off. I taught you better than that. He fell silent. The kitchen was suddenly too quiet, the only sound the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. I could see the chores turning in his head, the frantic calculations. He was trying to find a way out, a way to salvage the situation. Look, he said, his voice cracking. We just want what's best for everyone. We're in a tough spot. Ashley's wedding is going to cost a fortune, and we're drowning in debt. We saw an opportunity, a way to make things right for everyone. An opportunity, I repeated, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. You saw my life as an opportunity. I'm sorry, Dad, he said, his eyes pleading. It was a terrible idea. We were wrong. We'll forget the whole thing. I shook my head slowly. You took the will from my nightstand last night. His face went pale. What? No, I didn't. Don't, I said, holding up a hand. Don't lie to me again. I felt you take it. I heard you. He hung his head, defeated. I didn't mean to. I panicked. Vanessa said we needed it. She said you were holding out on us. I just wanted to see what was in it. And what did you find? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, confusion flickering in his eyes. I haven't opened it yet. I was going to read it tonight. You didn't open it, no. I thought you'd notice if it was missing. I was going to put it back tonight. I studied him for a long moment. There was something in his voice, a sliver of truth that hadn't been there before. He was a coward, yes. He was complicit, yes. But maybe, just maybe, he wasn't entirely lost. I'm going to make you a deal, Mark. I said, my voice steady. You're going to go home tonight, and you're going to think long and hard about what you want. Not what Vanessa wants. Not what the debt collectors want. What you want. He read at me, his eyes wide. What do you mean? I said, that you have a choice to make. You can take the easy path, the path of greed and selfishness, and you can lose everything. Or you can stand up for what's right. You can be the man your mother always believed you could be. He swallowed hard, and if I choose the right path, then we can talk, I said. We can find a solution that works for everyone. But it has to start with the truth. And it has to start with you being honest with yourself. I walked past him, into the living room. The fire had died overnight, leaving behind a pile of cold ash. I knelt down, striking a match and relighting the kindling. The flames danced, casting long shadows across the room. Behind me, I heard Mark's voice, small and uncertain. What about the will? The one I took? I didn't turn around. Put it back where you found it, I said. And if you choose the right path, you'll get the chance to read the new one. The new one, his voice cracked. You changed it. I turned to face him, the firelight illuminating the cold resolve in my eyes. I had to, I said. You left me no choice. He stood in the doorway, his face a mask of dawning horror. What did you do, Dad? What did you do? I'll tell you in a few days, I said. After you've made your decision. But for now, I need you to leave. I need to think. He hesitated, his eyes searching mine for any sign of mercy. But there was none to be found. I was giving him a chance, but it was a slim one. A lifeline he had to grasp on his own. He turned and walked toward the front door. At the threshold, he paused. Dad, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just got caught up. She doesn't make it easy. I know, I said, my voice softening just a fraction. But you're not a boy anymore, Mark. You're a man. And it's time you root acting like one. He nodded slowly, then walked out the door. The cold air rushed in, and I heard the crunch of his boots on the frozen gravel as he walked to his car. The engine root, a low hum that faded into the distance. I was alone in the house again. The fire crackled and spat, casting its warm glow across the familiar room. I walked to the bookshelf and pulled out the biography of Winston Churchill. The newel was nestled inside, safe and secured. I looked at it, my fingers tracing the edges of the envelope. I had given Mark a choice. A real one. He could either prove that he was the man I had hoped he would become, or he could prove that I had been a fool all along. The coming days would tell the story, and I was ready for whatever came next. I sat in my room chair, the fire warming my bones, and I let my mind wander. I thought about the lake house, the cabin where Eleanor and I had shared our happiest moments. I thought about the sound of the water lapping against the dock, the smell of pine, the sight of the stars reflecting off the still surface. They wanted to tear it all down. They wanted to replace it with something cold, something new, something that would serve their ambition. But I had made a promise to myself and to Eleanor's memory. I would not let that happen. Not while I still had breath in my body. 3 days passed in a tense, brittle silence. Mark didn't call. Vanessa didn't stop by with her usual Tupperware containers of healthy casseroles that tasted like Ridboe Road. The house felt empty, hollowed out, as if the whispered conspiracy had sucked all the warmth out of the walls. I spent my days reading, tending to the fire, and staring out the window at the snow-covered lawn. The stillness was deceptive. Beneath it, a storm was brewing, and on the 4th morning, I heard our pull into the driveway. It wasn't a Marquez sedan. It was a sleek, silver SUV that gleamed like a predator in the weak winter sun. I watched from the window as Vanessa stepped out, her heels clicking against the icy pavement. She was dressed for battle, a tailored wool coat, a silk scarf, and a handbag that probably cost more than my first car. She walked with purpose, her head held high, her jaw set in a line of grim determination. The doorbell rang, a sharp, insistent chime that cut through the silence like a warning siren. I opened the door, and she pushed past me without waiting for an invitation. Her perfume hung in the air, cloying and expensive. "We need to talk," she said, her voice clipped. "Not in the foyer. In the living room." I closed the door slowly, taking my time. If she wanted a fight, she was going to have to wait for it. I shuffled into the living room, settling into my room chair by the fire. She stood in the center of the room, her arms crossed, her eyes blazing. "Where is Mark?" I asked, my voice calm. "He's at work," she said dismissively. "This isn't about him. This is about you and me. And it's about time we had an honest conversation." "Honest?" I repeated, a dry chuckle escaping my lips. "That's a new concept for you, isn't it?" Her eyes narrowed. "I don't know what you think you heard on New Year's Eve, but I can assure you, you've got it all wrong. We were just brainstorming. Nothing was set in stone." "Is that right?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. "So, you weren't planning to sell my house. You weren't planning to sell the lake property. You weren't planning to put me in a home so you could fund a wedding at the Ritz-Carlton." She flinched, just slightly, but she recovered quickly. "We were looking at options," she said, her voice tight. "We were trying to find a solution that would work for everyone." "A solution that would work for everyone," I repeated, the words dripping with sarcasm. "Funny. I don't remember being included in those discussions. I don't remember anyone asking me what I wanted." "You're old," she said bluntly, her patience snapping like a frayed rope. "You can't take care of this house. You can't even take care of yourself. You're a burden, and you've been a burden for a long time. Mark is too soft to tell you, but I'm not." I felt the words hit me like a physical blow. A burden. She had finally said it out loud. The mask had come off completely, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. "Is that what you really think?" I asked, my voice rely above a whisper. "It's what I know," she said, her eyes harrowed. "You've been coasting on Mark's goodwill for years. He's too loyal to see it, but I'm not. You're just an old man sitting in a big house, holding on to memories that don't matter anymore. It's time to let go. It's time to do what's best for your family." "My family," I said, rising slowly from my chair. The fire crackled behind me, casting long shadows across the room. You mean your family, your daughter, your wedding, your vision of the perfect life. You don't give a damn about me. You never did. She stepped back, just a fraction of an inch. For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. But it was quickly replaced by fury. Fine, she spat. You want the truth, here it is. We've already spoken to a realtor. The house goes on the market in 2 weeks. We've already accepted an offer on the lake property. The deposit is non-refundable. And we've put a deposit down at the assisted living facility. You're moving in next month, whether you like it or not. The room spun around me. I gripped the back of my chair to steady myself. You can't do that, I said, my voice trembling with rage. This is my house. My property. You can't just… We can, she interrupted, a smug smile playing on her lips. We have power of attorney. Mark signed the papers last week. He didn't want to, but I convinced him. He's a good husband. He listens to me. Power of attorney. The words hit me like a freight train. I had never signed anything. I had never given them that power. But I knew Mark's signature. I knew his weakness. She had manipulated him, pressured him, until he had broken. Get out, I said, my voice low and dangerous. Get out of my house. She laughed, a cold, brittle sound. This isn't your house anymore, old man. It's our house. And you're just a tenant. I walked toward her, my steps slow and deliberate. The RS seemed to melt away. I wasn't a 73-year-old man anymore. I was the engineer who had faced down borrowed rooms and construction delays. I was the father who had taught his son how to fish and how to be a man. Get out, I repeated, my voice ice. Before I do something we'll both regret. She read at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine for any sign of weakness. She found none. You're making a mistake, she said, gathering her handbag and heading for the door. This is your last chance to do this gracefully. If you keep fighting, we'll make it ugly. And you don't want that. I followed her to the door, my hand gripping the frame. I've been fighting my whole life, I said, my voice steady. I built this house with my own hands. I built this family. And I'll tear it all down before I let you destroy it. She stepped outside, turning to face me one last time. You're going to regret this, she said. Mark will choose me. He always does. Maybe, I said, my voice softening. But if he does, he'll have lost more than a father. He'll have lost his soul. She got into her SUV and drove away, the tires spinning on the icy driveway. I stood on the porch, the cold wind biting at my face, until the CAR read from sight. I went back inside, my legs heavy, my heart aching. I walked to the bookshelf and pulled out the new will. My fingers traced the edges, a plan forming in my mind. I wasn't just fighting for my house anymore. I was fighting for my son. I was fighting to remind him who he was, who his mother had raised him to be. I sat down at my desk and pulled out a sheet of paper. Root writing a letter.
To Mark. To Ashley.
To the lawyer. To anyone who would listen. The ink flowed like blood, each word a desperate plea for justice. I poured my heart onto the page, telling the story of my life, of my dreams, of my love for my family. I told them the truth when I was finished. I sealed the letter in an envelope and addressed it to Miller, my lawyer. I would mail it tomorrow. It was my last line of defense. That night, I sat alone in the living room, the fire dying in the grate. I thought about Eleanor. I thought about the life we had built together. I thought about the son we had raised, the boy who had once looked at me with such admiration. What had gone wrong? Had I been too lenient? Had I been too trusting? Or was it just the world, the relentless grind of money and ambition that had turned him into a stranger? I didn't have the answers. But I knew one thing for certain. I would not go down without a fight. I had given Mark a chance to choose the right path. I had given Vanessa a chance to show her true colors. And now I would give them the truth. The game was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The phone rang at 6:30 the next morning. I knew who it was before I even picked up. Mark's voice was ragged, frayed at the edges, like he hadn't slept in days. Dad, We need to talk. Not over the phone. In person. I'm coming over. Your wife was here yesterday, I said, my voice flat. She made her position very clear. I know. He rode. There was a pause, a long, shuddering breath. She didn't tell me she was coming. I found out from the realtor. She already listed the house, Dad. Without telling me. She forged my signature on the listing agreement. I felt a cold knot tighten in my chest. Forged. The word hung in the air between us, ugly and damning. She told me you signed power of attorney. I signed something, he admitted, his voice cracking. But I didn't read it fully. She said it was just a formality. Some paperwork for the wedding venue. I trusted her. Trusted her, I repeated, the irony bitter on my tongue. You trusted her more than you trusted me. Dad, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't know she was going to do this. I didn't know she had already contacted the realtor. She's been planning this behind my back. Behind your back, I said slowly. And what about the lake property, the non-refundable deposit? He was silent for a long moment. She told me the offer fell through. She said the buyer backed out. I believed her. She lied to you, Mark. She's been lying to both of us. I know, he said, his voice a whisper. I know now. I found the paperwork in her office last night. The sales contract. The deposit receipt. She never told me the sale was final. She was going to spring it on me after everything was signed. I closed my eyes, the weight of the betrayal pressing down on me. For months, I had blamed Mark. I had seen him as the architect of this scheme, the willing participant in Vanessa's plan. But now I realized he was just another victim. A fool, yes. A coward, yes. But not a monster. When are you coming over? I asked. Now. I'm already in the car. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and walked to the window. The sky was gray, heavy with clouds. Snow was forecast for the afternoon. I watched the empty street, waiting for his car to appear. 20 minutes later, Mark pulled into the driveway. He looked terrible. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair unkempt, his shirt wrinkled. He walked to the door with the gait of a man riding the weight of the world on his shoulders. I opened the door before he could knock.
Come in, I said.
We have a lot to talk about. He followed me into the living room, collapsing into the A-room chair opposite mine. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. She's been lying to me for years, he said, his voice muffled. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. She made me feel like I was the one who was wrong. Like I was the one who was holding us back. Vanessa is a master manipulator, I said, my voice calm. She's been playing you since the day you met her. But you're not blameless, Mark. You let her. You chose to let her. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. I know. I'm a coward. I always have been. I never stood up to her. I never stood up for you. I let her walk all over us both. You still have a choice, I said. You can keep letting her control you, or you can take back your life. But you have to decide. And you have to decide now. He read at me, his eyes sea-urching. What do you mean? Vanessa has already listed the house, I said. She's already sold the lake property. She's moving 4-way RD with her plan, whether you like it or not. If you want to stop her, you need to act. You need to call the realtor. You need to cancel the sale. You need to tell her it's over. He shook his head slowly. She'll never agree to that. She'll fight me every step of the way.
She'll take the kids.
She'll take everything. Then let her, I said. You can't build a life on a foundation of lies. You can't keep sacrificing your soul to keep the peace. It's time to stand up for yourself. It's time to be the man your mother always knew you could be. His face crumpled. Mom would have been so disappointed in me. She always believed in me. She always thought I could do better. She still believes in you, I said softly. She's gone, but her love is still here. It's in this house. It's in the lake. It's in the memories we read. Don't let Vanessa destroy that. Don't let her destroy what's left of our family. He was silent for a long moment, his eyes distant. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, he said. Okay, I'll do it. I'll call the realtor. I'll cancel the sale. I'll tell Vanessa it's over. I leaned forward, placing a hand on his knee. Good. That's the right decision. But you need to understand. This is just the beginning. Vanessa won't give up easily. She'll fight. She'll manipulate. She'll try to turn the kids against you. You need to be ready. I'll be ready, he said, his voice gaining strength. I'm done being a puppet. I'm done being controlled. I want my life back. I want my family back. The phone rang, cutting through the moment. May RK reached for it, then stopped, his face pale. It's her, he said. It's Vanessa. Answer it, I said. But don't let her control the conversation. You're in charge now. He took a deep breath and answered the call. Hello, Vanessa, he said, his voice steady. I know what you did. I know about the listing. I know about the sale. I know you forged my signature. I couldn't hear her side of the conversation, but I could see the effect it had on MARK. His face tightened, his jaw clenching. No, he said firmly. I'm not going to let you destroy my family. I'm canceling the listing. I'm canceling the sale. I'm ending this. There was a long pause. Then MARK spoke again, his voice cold. You can take me to court if you want, but I'll fight you. I'll expose everything. The lies. The manipulation. The way you've been using me for your RS. I'll show everyone who you really are. Another pause. MARK's face softened slightly. I love you, Vanessa. I always have. But I can't keep living like this. I can't keep letting you control my life. I need to be my own man. I need to be a better father. A better son. I watched as MARK listened to her response. His eyes widened, then filled with sadness. I'm sorry you feel that way, he said. But I've made my decision. I'm not changing my mind. He ended the call and set the phone on the table. His hands were shaking. She said she's leaving me, he said, his voice hollow. She said she's taking Ashley and moving to her parents. She said she's going to destroy me in the divorce. She's bluffing, I said. She's trying to SEA you into backing down. But you can't. You have to stay strong. He nodded slowly, his eyes distant. I know, but it's hard. I still love her, Dad. Even after everything she's done, I still love her. I know you do, I said. That's what makes this so hard. But love isn't an excuse to let someone destroy you. Love doesn't mean sacrifice your soul. He looked at me, his eyes filled with anguish. What do I do now? I said, USTART building a new life. It won't be easy. It will be painful, but you can do it. You're stronger than you think. He nodded slowly, then stood. I need to go see Ashley, he said. I need to talk to her before Vanessa twists the story. Good idea, I said. Go. Call me if you need anything. He walked to the door, then paused. Dad, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for not giving up on me, for not turning your back on me when I deserved it. You're my son, I said. I will never turn my back on you, no matter what. He left, and I was alone again. The fire had died, the room cold. I stood by the window, watching his CAR disape are down the street. The battle was far from over. Vanessa would fight. She would try to destroy MARK. She would try to take everything, but I had a secret weapon. The new will, the lawyer, the truth. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I would not let her win. I would fight for my family. I would fight for my son. I would fight until my last breath. The snow began to fall, soft and silent. I watched the flakes drift down, covering the world in white. It was beautiful, peaceful. But beneath the beauty, a storm was brewing, and I was ready for it. The snow fell for 3 days straight, blanketing the world in a thick, muffled silence. Rely left the house. The phone rang constantly. Vanessa's parents, Ashley, lawyers, realtors. I let the machine pick up. I wasn't ready to talk to anyone. I was waiting. On the 4th morning, the doorbell rang. It wasn't MARK. He had been calling every day, his voice growing stronger, more determined. He had canceled the listing, he said. He had frozen the joint accounts. He had filed for a legal CEPE ration. The wheels were in motion, and there was no turning back. But the person at the door was not Mark. It was Ashley. She stood on the porch, her arms wrapped around herself against the cold. She was 24, with her mother's sharp cheekbones and her father's soft, uncertain eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Grandpa," she said, her voice trembling. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, and she walked past me into the house. She stood in the foyer, her eyes rooting around the familiar space. She had grown up in this house, running through the halls, playing hide and seek in the attic. It was her home, too. "I need to talk to you," she said.
About Mom.
"About Dad. About everything." "Come in," I said, leading her to the living room. I stoked the fire, adding a fresh log. The flames crackled to life, casting warm light across the room. She sat on the edge of the sofa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Mom told me Dad is leaving her," she said, her voice small. "She said he's been brainwashed by you. She said you're trying to destroy our family." I sat down slowly, choosing my words carefully. "Your mother is a very persuasive woman, Ashley. But she's not telling you the whole truth." "She said you have a will," Ashley continued, her voice gaining a sharp edge. "She said you're holding it over Dad's head, that you're using it to control him." I leaned forward, my eyes meeting hers. "Your mother and your father tried to put me in a home," I said. "They tried to sell my house and my lake property, without my consent. They forged documents. They lied to me. They lied to each other." She read at me, her mouth open. "That's not true," she whispered. "Mom would never. Your mother would do anything to get what she wants," I said, my voice gentle but firm. "I'm not telling you this to hurt you. I'm telling you because you deserve to know the truth. You deserve to know who your mother really is." She was silent for a long moment, her eyes glistening with tears. "She said you were senile. She said you were confused. She said you didn't know what you were doing." "She's been saying that for years," I said. "But I'm not senile, Ashley. I'm not confused. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm fighting for my family. I don't know who to believe anymore," she said, her voice breaking. "Mom has been telling me one thing. Dad has been telling me another. And now you're telling me something else. Everyone has a different version of the truth." I reached out and took her hand. "The truth is complicated," I said. "But it's not impossible to find. You just have to look for it. You have to ask the right questions. You have to listen to your own heart." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "What do I do?" "You don't have to choose sides," I said. "You don't have to take sides against anyone. But you do have to decide who you want to be. Do you want to be the person who lets her mother control her? Or do you want to be the person who finds her own way?" She pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. "You sound just like Dad," she said, her voice bitter. "Always with the speeches. Always with the wisdom. You don't understand what it's like. You don't understand what it's like to be in the middle of this." "You're right," I said, my voice steady. "I don't know what it's like to be you. But I do know what it's like to be torn between two people you love. I've been there. I've lived it. And I can tell you, the only way through it is to be honest with yourself." She walked to the window, rang out at the snow-covered lawn. "Mom says I have to choose," she said. "She says if I don't side with her, she'll cut me off. She'll take away my trust fund. She'll take away everything." "Then let her," I said. "You're stronger than you think, Ashley. You don't need her money. You don't need her approval. You just need to believe in yourself." She turned to face me, her eyes blazing. "You don't understand. You've never had to choose between your parents. You've never had to watch your family fall apart." "No," I admitted. "I haven't. But I've watched my son fall apart. I've watched him lose himself in a marriage that was destroying him. And I've watched him find his way back. It's not easy. But it's possible." She read at me for a long moment, her expression softening. "I miss the way things used to be," she said. "I miss when we were a family, when we used to have dinners together, when you used to take me to the lake." "The lake is still there," I said. "The cabin is still there. It's waiting for you." It's always been waiting for you. She walked tawa me, her steps hesitant.
Can I see it? She asked.
Can we go to the lake, just the two of us? I looked at her, surprised. Now it's winter. The cabin isn't winterized. There's no heat. I don't see a re, she said. I just need to get away. I need to think. I need to breathe. I studied her for a long moment, weighing my options. The road to the lake was treacherous, the snow deep. But I understood her need. I understood it better than she knew. Okay, I said. We'll go. But we need to be ca refull. And we need to be quick. She nodded, a small smile flickering across her face.
Thank you, Grandpa.
I promise, I won't cause any trouble. I packed a thermos of coffee, a bag of sandwiches, and a thick blanket. We bundled up and got into the old pickup truck that had been sitting in the garage for months. The engine coughed to life, a familiar rumble that felt like home. The drive was slow, the roads slick with ice. The landscape was a winter wonderland, the trees heavy with snow, the fields stretching out in endless white. Ashley Estier read out the window, her breath fogging the glass. The last time I was here, she said, I was 13. You taught me how to skip stones across the water. Your mother was furious, I said with a dry laugh. You were supposed to be wearing your nice dress, and you came back covered in mud. She laughed, the sound bright and genuine. I remember. She made me sit in the car for the rest of the day. But I didn't ca re. It was worth it. We pulled up to the cabin, the familiar A-frame nestled in the pines. The roof was covered in snow, the dock frozen and silent. It was beautiful, peaceful, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. We stepped out of the truck, our boots crunching in the snow. Ashley walked to the edge of the frozen lake, her arms wrapped around herself. It's so quiet, she said. I forgot how quiet it was. Your grandmother used to say that the quiet was the best part, I said, joining her. She used to say that God speaks in the silence. I miss her, Ashley said, her voice breaking. I miss her so much.
She always knew what to say.
She always knew how to make things better. She was a wise woman, I said. She knew that love wasn't about control. It wasn't about winning. It was about being there for each other. About showing up. We stood there in silence, the cold wind biting at our faces. I watched Ashley's face, saw the turmoil written there. She was at a crossroads, just like her father. I think I'm going to stay with Dad, she said finally. I don't see a re what Mom says. I don't see a re if she cuts me off. I can't let her control me anymore. I need to do what's right. I put my arm around her shoulders. That's a brave decision, Ashley. Your father is going to need you. This is going to be hard for him. I know, she said. But I'll be there. I'll be there for him. I'll be there for you. I looked out at the frozen lake, the memories washing over me. Eleanor would have been proud of her granddaughter. She would have been proud of Mark. She would have been proud of all of us. We should head back, I said. It's getting cold. And the roads going to get worse. She nodded, and we walked back to the truck. The drive home was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence. Ashley was thinking, processing, coming to terms with her decision. When we pulled into the driveway, Mark was there, standing on the porch. He looked tired but hopeful. He walked to the truck as we got out.
Dad, he said. Ashley.
I was worried about you. We're fine, I said. We went to the lake. Mark looked at Ashley, his eyes sea urching. Are you okay? She walked to him, wrapping her arms around him. I'm okay, Dad, she said. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to stay with you. Mark's eyes filled with tears. He held her tight, his shoulders shaking. I'm so proud of you, he said. I'm so proud of the woman you've become. I watched them, my heart swelling with emotion. The battle was far from over. Vanessa would not give up. She would fight. She would manipulate. She would try to tear them apart. But as I looked at my son and my granddaughter, I felt a glimmer of hope. We had each other. We had the truth. And we had the strength to fight. The storm was still coming. But I knew, with absolute certainty, that we would weather it together, the phone didn't stop ringing. It was like a persistent, angry hornet buzzing in the corner of the room. I let the machine pick up every time. Vanessa's voice, shrill and frantic, filled the kitchen. Mark, you need to call me back. This is ridiculous. You can't just... Click. Then her mother, Patricia, her voice dripping with feigned concern. Mark, we're all so worried about you. Please call us. We need to talk about the arrangements. Arrangements? The word made my blood boil. They were talking about me like I was a piece of furniture to be moved. I had stopped answering the door too. Twice, Vanessa had shown up, pounding on the wood until her knuckles must have been raw. The second time, she shouted through the mail slot. I know you're in there, old man. You can't hide forever. This isn't over. I had sat in my room chair, the fire crackling softly, and I had let her scream. Let her exhaust herself. She was a storm, and storms always passed. What worried me more was the silence from Mark. After his déclaration he had been a ghost. He called every morning, his voice hoarse and tired, but the conversations were short. He was dealing with the fallout. Ashley was staying with him, but the separation was ugly. Lawyers were involved. The house he and Vanessa Shaw read was a battlefield. You're doing the right thing, I told him one morning, the sun rely cresting the horizon. The right thing is rely the easy thing. I know, Dad, he said, his voice heavy, but she's pulling out all the stops. She's calling my work. She's talking to my colleagues. She's trying to turn everyone against me. Let her, I said. The people who matter will see through it. The people who don't, you don't need. He was quiet for a long moment. She's also threatening to come after your house. She says the power of attorney she forged is still valid. She's saying she can force a sale. I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach. She can try, I said, my voice steady. But I have the real will. I have Miller. She doesn't have a leg to stand on. I hope you're right, he said, because I can't lose this house too, Dad. It's the only thing that still feels like home. I hung up the phone, and read at the wall. The battle lines were drawn. Vanessa was fighting with everything she had. And she had a lot that afternoon. I heard our pull into the driveway. It wasn't Vanessa's aggressive SUV. It was a sensible sedan, gray and unassuming. I watched from the window as a man in a neatly pressed suit got out. He walked to the door with the measured pace of a professional. I opened the door before he could knock. Can I help you, Mr. Harper, he asked, extending a hand. My name is Robert Collins. I'm an attorney.
I represent Vanessa Harper.
I didn't shake his hand. I know who you are. What do you want? He smiled, a thin, practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. My client is concerned about your well-being. She believes you may be experiencing some confusion due to your age. She's asked me to help facilitate a smooth transition. Transition? I repeated, the word bitter on my tongue. Is that what she's calling it? Mr. Harper, he said, his voice smooth as silk. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to present you with a proposal. It's a generous offer. You could be quite comfortable. He held out a manila envelope. I didn't take it. I have a lawyer, I said. You can talk to him. Mr. Harper, he said, his voice hardening. I strongly suggest you take a look at this. It's in your best interest to be cooperative. I read at him, my eyes cold. You can tell Vanessa that I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, my life, and she has no right to it. He studied me for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded slowly. Very well, Mr. Harper. But I should warn you. My client is very determined. She's prepared to take this to court. She has resources. She has a team of lawyers. And she has the law on her side. She has a forged document, I said. She has lies. And she has nothing else. He smiled again, a flicker of contempt in his eyes. We'll see about that. He turned and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away, the envelope still in his hand. They were sending in the heavy artillery now. They were trying to intimidate me. I walked back inside, my heart pounding. I went to the bookshelf and pulled out the will. My fingers traced the edges, the familiar weight of it grounding me. I had Miller. I had the truth, but would that be enough? Vanessa had money. She had connections. She had the resources to drag this out for yours. And I was an old man. How long could I fight? I sat down in my room chair, the fire casting long shadows across the room. I thought about Eleanor. I thought about the life we had built. I thought about the promise I had made to myself. I would not give up. I would not give in. I would fight until my last breath. Later that evening, the phone rang again. I answered it this time, expecting Mark's voice. But it wasn't Mark. It was Ashley. Grandpa, she said, her voice hushed, almost a whisper. I need to tell you something. Mom is planning something big. She's talking to a judge. She's trying to get a guardianship order. She's saying you're incompetent. The word hit me like a slap. Incompetent. They were trying to strip me of my rights, to paint me as a doddering old man who couldn't make his own decisions. She can try, I said, my voice steady. But I have a lawyer. I have a will. I have the truth. I know, Ashley said. But she's going to make it ugly. She's going to drag your name through the mud. She's going to say things that aren't true. She's going to try to destroy you. I closed my eyes, the weight of it pressing down on me. I know, I said. But I can't let her win. I can't let her take everything. You won't, Ashley said, her voice fierce. Because I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to testify. I'm going to tell everyone what she did. Ashley, I said, my voice soft. That's a big decision. It's going to put you in the middle. It's going to make things harder for you. I don't see a re, she said. She's my mother. But she's wrong. And I can't stand by and watch her destroy you and Dad. I can't. I felt a warmth spread through my chest, a flicker of pride. She was her grandmother's granddaughter.
Brave. Loyal.
Unyielding. Thank you, I said. That means more than you know. I'll call you tomorrow, she said. Stay strong, Grandpa. We're going to get through this. Together. I hung up the phone, my hands trembling. The fight was far from over. Vanessa was circling like a shark, hungry for blood. But she had underestimated us. She had underestimated the strength of family. I walked to the window. STA ring out at the darkening sky. The stars were beginning to appear, faint and distant. I thought about Eleanor, about her gentle smile, her steady voice. Help me. I whispered into the darkness. Help me find the strength to fight. The house was silent, the fire crackling softly. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, I felt her presence. A warm hand on my shoulder, a soft voice in my ear. You're not alone, she seemed to say. I'm with you. Always. I opened my eyes, a new resolve filling me. I would not be defeated. I would not be broken. I would fight for my family. I would fight for my legacy. And I would win. The summons arrived on a Thursday. A crisp, official-looking envelope with the county court seal stamped on the corner. I didn't need to open it to know what it was. Vanessa had made good on her threat. She was taking me to court. I sat at the kitchen table, the envelope in front of me, my hands resting on the worn wood. The morning light filtered through the window, casting pale shadows across the room. I could hear the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, the steady rhythm of time marching on. I opened the envelope and read the contents. It was a petition for guardianship, filed by Vanessa Harper, alleging that I was incapacitated and unable to manage my personal and financial affairs. She had attached affidavits from a doctor she had never met, a neighbor who really knew me, and a social worker who had visited me once, years ago. It was a textbook SMEAR campaign, designed to paint me as a helpless old man who needed to be protected from himself. I folded the papers and set them aside. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. They had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated me. I called Miller, my lawyer. He answered on the first ring. I was expecting your call, he said. I received a copy of the petition this morning. Vanessa is moving fast. How fast? She's already filed a motion for an emergency hearing. She's trying to get a tempora reguardianship order before you have a chance to respond. If she succeeds, she'll have control over your finances and your property within days. I felt a cold anger settle in my chest. Can she do that? She can try, Miller said. But the court requires evidence. Real evidence, not just affidavits from hired guns. We can fight this. We can expose the forged power of attorney. We can present the new will. We can show the court exactly what Vanessa is trying to do. Then let's fight, I said. I'm not going to roll over for her. Good, Miller said. I'll file a response today. I'll also request a psychological evaluation from an independent doctor. If the court sees that you're mentally competent, her entire case falls apart. I hung up the phone, and STA read at the wall. The battle had moved from the shadows to the courtroom. It was going to be public, ugly, and expensive. But I had no choice. I had to fight it. That evening. Mark came over. He looked exhausted, his face pale, dark circles under his eyes. He sat down at the kitchen table and put his head in his hands. She's going to destroy us, Dad, he said, his voice muffled. She's going to take everything. The house. The lake. Our savings. She's going to leave us with nothing. She's going to try, I said. But she's not going to succeed. We have the truth on our side. We have the will. We have Ashley. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Ashley told me she's going to testify. She's going to tell the court everything. But that means she'll have to take the stand against her own mother. Do you know what that's going to do to her? I reached across the table and took his hand. I know it's hard, Mark. I know it's painful. But Ashley is strong. She's brave. She's doing what she believes is right. And we need to support her. He nodded slowly, wiping his eyes. You're right. I know you're right. But I'm SCA red, Dad. I'm SCA red of losing everything. You won't lose everything, I said. You have me. You have Ashley. You have this house. No matter what happens, we'll get through it together. He took a deep breath, steadying himself.
Okay.
What do we need to do? First, I said, we need to prepare for the hearing. Miller is going to need all the evidence we can gather. The forged documents. The real estate listing. The deposit receipt for the lake property. Anything that shows Vanessa's true intentions. I have copies of everything, Mark said. I've been keeping a file, just in case. I nodded, a small smile flickering across my face. Good. That's good. You're thinking ahead. That's exactly what we need. We spent the next few hours going through the documents, organizing them, preparing for the battle ahead. It was tedious work, but it was necessary. Every piece of evidence was a weapon in our arsenal. The day of the hearing arrived faster than I expected. I dressed in my best suit, the one I had worn to Eleanor's funeral. It was old, a little frayed at the cuffs, but it made me feel strong. Mark picked me up in his car, and we drove to the courthouse in silence. The courtroom was intimidating. Alda arche wood and high ceilings. I sat at the defense table, Miller beside me. Across the aisle, Vanessa sat with her lawyer, Robert Collins. She was dressed in a designer suit, her hair perfectly coiffed, her makeup flawless. She looked like a Shah arche, sleek and deadly. The judge entered, a stern-faced woman with graying hair and Shah RP eyes. She sat down, adjusting her robes. We are here to consider a petition for guardianship filed by Vanessa H. Erper. The petitioner alleges that the respondent, Robert H. Erper, is incapacitated and unable to manage his affairs. The respondent has filed a motion to dismiss. We will hear arguments from both parties. Robert Collins stood, his voice smooth and confident. Your Honor, we have compelling evidence that Mr. H. Erper is no longer capable of making sound decisions. Medical affidavits, witness statements, and documented incidents of confusion and disorientation. We respectfully request that the court grant a tempora reguardianship order to protect Mr. H. Erper's interests. Miller stood, his voice calm but firm. Your Honor, the petitioner's claims are baseless. Mr. H.A. Rapper is a competent, independent individual who has managed his own affairs for decades. The petitioner's true intention is not to protect Mr. H.A. Rapper, but to seize control of his assets. We have evidence to support this claim. The judge looked at me, her eyes sharp. Mr. H.A. Rapper, do you have anything to say? I stood, my hands resting on the table. Your Honor, I am not incapacitated. I am not confused. I am a retired engineer, a husband, a father, and a grandfather. I have managed my own life for 73 years, and I am perfectly capable of continuing to do so. My daughter-in-law is not trying to protect me. She is trying to steal from me. Vanessa's face flushed, but she said nothing. Her lawyer stood, his voice sharp. Your Honor, these are serious allegations. We have evidence, Miller interrupted. Your Honor, we have evidence of our own. We have documents showing that Vanessa H.A. Rapper forged her husband's signature on a power of attorney. We have documents showing she illegally listed Mr. H.A. Rapper's property for sale. We have documents showing she accepted a deposit on his lake property without his consent. We have an independent psychological evaluation confirming Mr. H.A. Rapper's competence. The judge's eyes flickered to Vanessa. Is this true, Mrs. H.A. Rapper? Vanessa stood, her voice shaking. Your Honor, I was acting in what I believe to be Mr. H.A. Rapper's best interests. My husband and I were concerned about his well-being. We were trying to. The judge raised a hand, cutting her off. I've heard enough. This court is not a tool for settling family disputes. Based on the evidence presented, I find no grounds for guardianship. The petition is dismissed. Vanessa's face went pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but her lawyer put a hand on her arm, silencing her. The judge turned to me. Mr. H.A. Rapper, I apologize for the inconvenience. This matter is closed. I nodded, my heart pounding. Thank you, Your Honor. Mark squeezed my shoulder, his face filled with relief. Ashley, sitting in the back of the courtroom, was wiping tears from her eyes. We walked out of the courthouse together, the cold air hitting our faces. Vanessa was behind us, her heels clicking angrily on the pavement. She caught up to us, her eyes blazing. This isn't over, she hissed. You think you've won. You haven't won. I'll find another way. I'll destroy you all. Mark stepped in front of me, his voice steady.
No, Vanessa.
You're done. You've lost. And if you try anything else, I'll press charges. I'll expose everything. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. She read at him, her face a mask of fury. Then she turned and walked away, her heels echoing in the empty street. I watched her go, a strange sense of peace settling over me. The battle was over. We had won, but as I looked at Mark and Ashley, I knew the SCARS would remain. The trust had been broken. The family had been fractured. It would take time to heal. But we had each other. And that was enough that the snow melted in the weeks that followed. The world thawed slowly, the ice surrendering to the hesitant RMTH of an EARLY spring. I spent my days in the quiet rhythm of routine, but something had shifted. The house felt lighter, as if the weight of the whispered conspiracy had finally lifted. Mark came by every Sunday now. It had become our ritual. He would arrive with fresh coffee and a bag of bagels from the deli on Main Street, the one that had been there since he was a boy. We would sit in the living room, the fire crackling softly, and we would talk. Not about the court case. Not about Vanessa. About life. About memories. About the future. Ashley was a frequent visitor, too. She had moved out of her mother's house and into a small APA meant NEAR the university. She was finishing her degree, she told me, and she was thinking about going to law school. I want to help people, she said. I want to make a difference. You already have, I told her. You made a difference for me. One Sunday, Mark arrived with a folder under his arm. He set it on the coffee table and sat down across from me, his expression serious. Dad, I need to show you something, he said. I've been working on it for a while. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but I think you deserve to know. I opened the folder. Inside were documents. Legal documents. I scanned them quickly, my eyes widening as I read. "What is this?" I asked, my voice rely above a whisper. "It's a transfer of ownership," Mark said. "I'm giving the lake property back to you.
Completely.
No strings attached. It's yours again." I read at him, my mind struggling to process his words. "Mark, you don't have to do this. The property is yours. It was always going to be yours." "I know," he said, his voice steady. "But I don't want it. Not like this. Not after everything that happened. That place is yours. It was always yours. I should never have let Vanessa convince me otherwise." I felt a lump form in my throat. "Son, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept it," he said. "Say you'll let me do this. It's the only way I can make things right." I looked at him, this man who was once a boy, the boy I had taught to fish and build and dream. He had changed. He had grown. He was no longer the timid son who let his wife control his every move. He was his own man now. "I accept," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "And I'm proud of you, Mark. More proud than you'll ever know." He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot." The next weekend, Mark and Ashley drove me to the lake. The snow had melted, and the water was a deep, glistening blue. The cabin was just as we had left it, weathered but standing strong against the elements. I walked to the edge of the dock, the familiar creak of the wood beneath my feet. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow across the water. I could hear the lapping of the waves, the distant call of a loon. "It's beautiful," Ashley said, joining me on the dock. I forgot how beautiful it was. "Your grandmother used to say that this place was a piece of heaven on Ardich," I said. I think she was right. Mark walked up behind us, his hands in his pockets. "I've been thinking," he said, "about what comes next. I want to rebuild the dock. Fix the roof. Make this place like new again." "That sounds like a lot of work," I said with a smile. "It is," he admitted. "But I think it's worth it. I think we all need something to work Tower Road, something that brings us together." I looked at them, my son and my granddaughter, standing on the dock as the sun dipped below the horizon. The past few months had been a battle, a war of wills and wounds. But we had survived. We had come out the other side, red but stronger. "I think that's a wonderful idea," I said. "And I think your mother would be proud." Mark's eyes glistened. "I hope so, Dad. I really hope so." We stood in silence, the three of us, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. The loon called again, its mournful cry echoing across the water. It was a sound I had heard 1,000 times before, but tonight it felt different. It felt like a goodbye. And a hello. Later that night, we sat on the porch of the cabin, wrapped in blankets against the chill. The stars were out, scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Ashley had fallen asleep on the old wooden swing, her head resting on Mark's shoulder. "She's a good kid," Mark said softly. "She's got a lot of her grandmother in her." "She does," I agreed. "She's got her strength, her courage, her heart." Mark was quiet for a moment. "Dad, I need to ask you something. About the will. The new one. You never told me what was in it." I looked at him, the firelight flickering in his eyes. "It's simple really," I said. "Everything goes to the Birchwood Lake Preservation Society. Unless you and Ashley decide to take care of me, then it goes to you." He read at me, his face unreadable. "So it was a test." "It was a choice," I said. "I wanted to give you the chance to do the right thing. And you did." He let out a long, slow breath. "I almost failed, Dad. I almost let her take everything. But you didn't," I said. "You made the right choice. And that's what matters." We sat in silence for a long time, the stars wheeling overhead. I thought about the journey we had taken, the twists and turns, the pain and the healing. I thought about Eleanor, about her gentle smile, her unwavering faith in our family. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the old will, the one Mark had taken from my nightstand. I held it out to him. "Here," I said. You can have this back. I don't need it anymore. He took it, his fingers tracing the edges. What about the new one? I'm going to tear it up, I said. I don't need that anymore either. I have what I wanted. My family back. He looked at me, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Dad. For everything. No, I said, shaking my head. Thank you, Mark. For proving that there's still good in this world. For proving that family matters. The loon called again, a distant, haunting cry. I leaned back in my chair, the rmth of the blanket seeping into my bones. The stars were bright, the sky clear. It was a perfect night, the kind of night that made you believe in second chances. I closed my eyes and I smiled. The battle was over. The war had been won. And as I drifted off to sleep, I felt a peace I hadn't felt in years. The peace of knowing that I had done the right thing. The peace of knowing that my family was whole again. And in that moment, I knew that Eleanor was watching. And she was smiling too.